Okay, chord shapes. Right, this is a quick overview of the chord shapes and what we're aiming for. First things first, first tip is chord shapes on their own. No rhythm. Just get them off the page and into your brain. That's the first thing. Secondly, guide fingers and the correct fingers in the chord. Once you speed this up, you won't have time to adjust or fix up any of these mistakes. It's got to flow. So make sure you've got your guide fingers and your correct finger placement at this early stage, because then you can just keep practicing that information. Practice the chord changes in sets of 2 bars if you can. Bars 1 and 2, then 3 and 4, put them together. 1, 2, 3, 4, then bars 3 and 4, and then put 2 and 3, 3 and 4 together, and then put the chunks together. So again, this is really important, and it's something that helps with learning guitar. Chunk the information up. Small chunks put together to make a bigger chunk, put together to make a section, sections make a piece. This is how you learn music properly so that it stays in your system. So again, chunk them into information and then practice the shifts between the chunks. Right, then and only then put your metronome on and put it up as quarter notes, so not semiquavers, quarter notes, so that you've got time to think about it. And at quarter notes, practice the shifts at tempo. So slow right hand, fast up to tempo shifts. Again, it's just building it in so that when you get it up to speed, that'll be there already from an early stage. If you're still struggling with this, a great tip is to put the metronome on and to decrease it by 1. What do I mean? So chord change 1, 3 beats, or chord change 1, 4 beats, chord change 2, 4 beats, chord change 1, 3 beats, chord change 2, 3 beats, chord change 1, 2 beats, 2 beats, 1, 1, and so that you slowly decrease it, but by decreasing it you're increasing the shifts. This will help. Alright, let's take a look. Alrighty, welcome to micro study number 2. This is chord shapes part 1. These are the first 6 bars of the Villa-Lobos. Let's dive straight in. Chord number 1 is E minor. Now notice I'm using fingers 1 and 2 for it, and then chord number 2, A minor 6 with an E in the bass, 3, 4, 2, 1, then back to the E minor chord for chord 3. Now again, I'm using different fingers for this E minor, 2 and 3. Why? Because I want to facilitate the change from 3 to 4 by putting my first finger pre-prepared behind finger 3, so it acts as an anchor, and I'm in. So let's have a look at that again. Finger down, finger 1 down, anchor. Good left hand stability there. Right, from this chord, chord 4, which is the B7 chord, we're going to move to chord 5, which is this one. And there's a little trick. As you've done the pattern, as soon as you've done to the top of the pattern, you start to track back down to the bass strings. Your little finger is going to track with your right hand. So watch, nice and slowly. Pre-release your little finger to get into that chord, chord 5. So E minor with a G in the bass, and then chord 6. You're going to need a little bit of a stretch here between your left and, as it is, you can see I'm in the middle of the fret. I'm not stretching all the way out, but I know now how much pressure to use. Okay, so if you haven't done any stretching exercises, I've done a micro study on that. Get the link now. Really, really important. Your left hand needs sufficient space between here, and it's easily practicable. Alright, let's just take a look quickly at the shift between chords 1 and 2 and talk about left hand sequential planting. Right, so from chord 1 to chord 2, due to the nature of the pattern, you only need to put down the fingers in an order that matches up with the pattern. Right? So you don't need to do this and try and get that down straight away. 1, it's pretty difficult, if not impossible. And 2, we want to make it easier for ourselves, so we do sequential planting in the left hand as well. From chord 1, I'm going to be putting down finger 4, 3, 2, 1. That is dictated by this. It's that simple. The right hand pattern dictates this. So 4, 3, 2, 1. So practice the sequential planting in the order that you need it. and we'll have a look at that a little bit later in micro study number 4, where we practice this one to sequentially planting into that chord. Right, let's crack on. Okay, micro study number 3, chord shapes part 2. We're taking it off from chord number 7. There's 2 parts to this chord, and I'll explain it now because there is a way to shift from chord 6 to 7. Part A, part B, 8, chord 8, right, chord 9, chord 10, chord 11, even, and then chord 12. So let's just step through that again. So we have an A minor, 2 parts to it. Right. The only thing that changes between the A minor chord is your 2nd and 4th fingers. 4th finger down, 2nd finger on. Then from here the shift is accomplished with 1 and 4. So that's E minor with a B in the bass. So again, from this chord here, other fingers just float up. Right, this is the sus4 chord. Your 2nd finger goes down to prepare for the B7 chord behind finger 4. And that is literally the last chord in that micro study, and then you're into the next one. The first of a series of diminished chords that float chromatically down the fretboard. Okay, so that was micro study number 3. Let's just take a look at the shift between micro study number 2 and number 3. Okay, between micro study number 2 and number 3, which is literally your E major G sharp in the bass to A minor. From this position you're going to use these 2 fingers to shift up and then into an E minor like that, with a little bit of a stretch. Now there's no getting away from it, you're going to squeak. This is one of the few places. You've got to lift lightly, so try not to push too heavily onto the strings as you slide them, because otherwise you're going to get more. Lightly, use them as guide ropes, and then in. Guide lanes if you want to, and then you're in. So let's have a look at that again. So again, shift lightly, fingers 2 and 3, A minor chord part A minor part B. You're going to have to do that. There's no other way to really successfully do that shift with an amount of security to it, unless you're just going to jump, which is possible, and there are some people that do that, but this is a more secure way. Right, let's move on. Okay, micro study 4, chord shapes part 3. Here we are at that middle chromatic section. Villa-Lobos loves his chromatics, and he loves his diminished chord. You get it a lot. Etude number 6 of it. And obviously number 12 as well. But anyway, we're in number 1. Now, the trick to this one is very simply, these 2 here, 1 and 4, are your guide fingers, and if you hear, no squeaks on the strings, whereas if you're going to do this with all fingers down, you're going to squeak. So you've got to lift fingers 2 and 3 up, shift, down, up, shift, down. Obviously I've gone into the next micro study because this one I've only done it in halves, just so that you can learn it. So you're going to go from the G sharp down to the D sharp in this micro study, and nice and slowly practice releasing 2 and 3 and so forth down. Now the other thing to keep in mind is with a chord shape that's just shifted down the fretboard, the spacing changes. So here my fingers are nice and tight. Here, really big spacing, so that you can see how much that's taking up there, whereas it's not taking anywhere near as much here. Okay, so you've got to adjust your fingers as you go down the fretboard. So that's two things to keep in mind: adjust your finger spacing and lift fingers 2 and 3 up. You do not want to squeak through that section. Let's take a look at the shift between microstudy 3 and microstudy 4. Okay, so very quickly, I haven't actually done any notes on this in the book, but that's fine. From the B7 to that first G sharp, there is nothing else for it. It's the first kind of like jump chord shift you're going to look at. And the key thing is to put the fingers down in order that they're needed. And it's the same for microstudy number 1 as well, between chord shifts 1 and 2. From here to here, you need to put them down in order. But first let's look at this one. Because of the way that the pattern works out in the right hand, finger 3 needs to be first, then finger 2, then finger 1, and then finger 4. Purely because of your right hand. The right hand pattern dictates which fingers go down. So don't try and put the entire chord down at once. 3, 2, 1, 4. 3, 2, 1, 4. It's worthwhile practicing that in of itself. The other thing is, you've already got this chord, don't look at it, use your eyes to laser to the change that you're going to, alright? This is already secure, it doesn't need thinking about, it definitely doesn't need looking at. Look at where your fingers are going so you're always ahead with your eyeballs. Laser the change. So, microstudy 5, chord shapes part 4. This is just the rest of the chromatic diminished chords, starting at D. So remember, adjust your finger spacing as it starts to get bigger down here, really big, and then you're into the last one, B flat. So I mean it's quite a range. You're going from G sharp all the way down to B flat, from really tight to really wide spacing, and you definitely do not want to squeak. No squeaking during that entire section, alright? Good tone starts with the left hand as well as the right hand. Alrighty, that's this lesson over and done with. Thank you very much for staying till the end. Hopefully it proved valuable and insightful. If it did, hit the like button, it always helps. If you want to ask questions, leave a comment below, or failing that, get onto classicalguitarrocks.com, link now, somewhere, and sign up, and you can get my email, and I'll quite happily answer any questions. Have a good day. Thank you.